Hello, English 1A. So this is the second part of the first part. So the way that I'm going to do this is there's going to be the introduction parts, part one and part 1.5, and then there's going to be the conclusion, which will be part two. So this is part 1.5 of the introduction. The first introduction video talked about the purpose of an introduction, what you're trying to do with it, why it's important, and it also brought up the first two parts of the introduction, which is the hook that generates interest for your reader, and then the context, which informs them about your topic. So this part is the part that is going to get into the argument section. It starts with the transition, which goes immediately after the context. A transition. So the transition is after you provided context to inform your reader about the topic, you will need to provide a bridge which will link your context to the argument in your thesis. The best way to provide this bridge is to address the counterargument. The counterargument is defined as follows. The counterargument is a viewpoint which opposes your thesis. The counterargument is a clear statement of the strongest argument against your thesis. In essence, it's the opposite of your thesis. Now, granted, some topics don't just have a pro and con, they have multiple viewpoints. But the one thing that's really important when you select the counterargument for your essay, there's a couple things. First, pick a strong argument. If it is just, some flimsy argument that they have that's really easy to knock down, it can actually make the essay less persuasive, especially to a reader that knows the multiple viewpoints on a particular topic. And don't worry, you can handle it. Basically, you can handle your essays can be strong enough to take down the argument. You've done research. All you have to do is, write it well, okay, and cite it, of course. So don't fear having a good argument next to yours. You can do this. You can totally do this. So the counter argument is basically what the transition is going to be. So, for example, if you're arguing about inadequate funding for public school education in the United States and how it has negative impacts, the counter argument would be that the funding for school education is sufficient in addressing the educational needs of students, which I'm not going to comment on that with my opinion. But basically, it goes, again, something like this. Here's a topic that's really interesting. That's the hook. Here's information about that topic so you know the people, places, and things that are involved in it. That's the context. And then you have the transition. In fact, some people are arguing about this issue. There's a couple sides. One argues this, one argues that. And then what comes next, of course, is going to be your thesis, where you say what you are going to argue. So transition, for the Walmart essay, it started with Danny Davis and then had the context about how his town had the steel mills leave and he was going through financial difficulty with the people in his town and young people were leaving. So this was a transition that this writer did. And that's been a controversial topic for a while, so here's his transition. Some protest Walmart's low wages and its power to drive smaller businesses out of town due to its sheer size and strength. And then it's cited. Though Walmart has stirred significant controversy on a national level due to these kinds of claims about their business policies, and then the sentence is cut off. And the reason is because pretty soon that it leads to his thesis. But this is the bridge that he's using. So that's a really strong counterargument. The idea that people are saying that Walmart is basically, bad for their employees and they are bad for small businesses. That is the strongest of some of the arguments that he could have provided for this particular essay about Walmart. But he's going to deal with that, right? Later in the essay, you're going to have a counterargument paragraph. So you can deal with it. But he's saying that this town was helped by having a Walmart. But he brings up, and some protest this. Some say that Walmart is not a good thing, and that it stirs a lot of controversy, which it does. So that's the transition or the bridge from just the facts and the interest factor and just the facts into the argument side. And then finally, your thesis, which is the most important statement in your entire essay because it's the purpose of your essay. It's what it's all about. The thesis is what every single thing after it should be working towards proving, and pretty much all the stuff before it as well. The introduction is all about preparing the reader for your thesis so that it makes sense and that it has a level of urgency and importance to it, that the stakes are there so that they understand why it's important enough to read an argument about it. So your thesis, After you've done your transition, you will state your argument about this topic through a clear statement of your thesis for this essay. And I would have edited actually that would not make a good thesis, that thing that we wrote there. And the reason for that is because it's a little anyway, I'm just going to let that go. That would not be a good example of a thesis statement. But the thesis statement, it should be one clear, well-edited sentence that is stating what all of the body paragraphs are going to be working to prove. And always, just because it's the tradition, and that's where people that are grading papers are going to be looking for it, you want to have the thesis as the last sentence. One clear, beautiful sentence that you will be able to tie to every single body paragraph from there on out. So this is the introduction. The introduction is there to show the purpose of your essay for your reader and help them understand what the argument is all about. It has a hook, it has context, and it also has a transition where you state the counter argument and your thesis. And that's pretty much all you need. It's really important to keep it concise. It's really important to, do some good writing in that, because that's where everything else starts from, and where all the hard work that you did on research and writing all those body paragraphs, that's the way that's the dress she's wearing to that party. Okay, so anyway, I hope this was helpful. This is the end of the introduction part 1.5, and the next video will be about the conclusion.